Welcome to the Primo's Musings podcast.
Good evening. This is Sri Primo, and today we're going to focus on the NFC South. Last 2 days back, we did the NFC West, and I did mention that I'll do the NFC South next. The NFC South has been pretty interesting over the past few years, with each team trying to supplant the other teams from becoming the division winner. But Tampa Bay has actually broken the chain, and they've been three-time champion. I mean, obviously, the 2 years was Tom Brady, and last year was Baker Mayfield, uh, a re-energized Baker Mayfield. So let's quickly dive into each and every team, and we will start with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And when I look at that from Tampa Bay, they still have Baker Mayfield from a quarterback. He was a top pick in the 2018 NFL draft. He signed a one-year, $4 million contract last season, and he was really efficient for Tampa Bay. Their offensive line was much better. He beat out their draft pick Kyle Trask last year. He had the best year in his six-season NFL career in terms of passing yards and passing touchdowns. He did play like a top 10 quarterback, ranking, I think, number 9 in passing yards. So when you look at it, in fact, he actually threw one more touchdown more than Patrick Mahomes, if there's anything to be said about that. It did hear him a huge contract this year, a 3-year, $100 million extension with like a $40 million guaranteed. And they have some great pieces on the offense with running back Rashad White. Mike Evans is still there. He's one of the top echelon receivers. And as everyone knows, his streak of 1,000-yard receiving seasons to begin his career ran to 10 last year. Let's see if he can get to 11. Again, he also got an extension. I think they did have a new offensive coordinator, and he's definitely improved Tampa Bay, but he took the Panthers coaching job this offseason. So, Todd Bowles, the head coach, has hired the Kentucky's OC. But he also comes from the Sean McVay tree. So I think it's going to be interesting. And if everyone remembers, Baker was actually at, and when he was actually in the LA system for about, I think, 5 games last year, I think a couple of years back. On the defensive side of things, obviously they have excellent tight ends on the offense side. On the defensive side of things, they were top 10 in scoring, and they allowed only like 19 points a game, 7th fewest in the NFL. They still have Antoine Winfield, and they have all the right pieces to do that. I think it's going to be interesting with the other teams also having gotten better, especially Atlanta, and we'll get to Atlanta next. And let's see if they can continue to play good, sound defense, and Mayfield continues to improve upon his performance from last year. I think they could easily win a 4 consecutive division title, and that's what I'm predicting. And then let's pivot to Atlanta Falcons. I mean, they went all in on Kirk Cousins despite his age. He tore his Achilles, but they signed him to a 4-year, $180 million deal with $100 million guaranteed. And Kirk Cousins was like 5th in the NFL until he went down. He already had like 18 touchdowns. He was actually tied for first. He had like an excellent season for Minnesota. And then once he got the Achilles injury, it went downhill. But the thing is that he's anytime you have a quarterback with Achilles injury, not many quarterbacks after tearing the Achilles, it's going to be challenging. The only person was Dan Marino, who actually threw more touchdowns than he did interceptions the rest of the career. But good news is that for Cousins is that the offensive line, they've got very good offensive line. They do get, um, they have some first round picks that they had from the past with left tackle Jake Matthews, right tackle Caleb Gary, and they got the Pro Bowler and Chris Lindstrom at right guard. They are probably the best pass back blocking unit in the NFL. So that bodes well for a quarterback who's actually 36 years old. Uh, of course, they did have the 2023 eighth overall running back, Bijan Robinson, who had almost 1,500 yards as a rookie, which is the most among the rookies. And so I do think that that should definitely improve, take some weight off Cousins. They got a good offensive line, and then they got a good running back. Um, and then again, they have a new offensive coordinator, Zach Robinson, who was an assistant on Sean McVay's LA Rams staff for the last 5 seasons. And he does know, to coach up the wide receivers. They do have Drake London, and then they have a tight end, Kyle Pitts, who are all top 10 draft picks. So Atlanta's, I think I see good things for Atlanta, as long as they are. But the only thing was like Atlanta did pick Michael Penix Jr., and he'll probably be someone who will be developing on the bench. And this is something Falcons think that he could be their future quarterback, but it remains to be seen. But um, let's see if Atlanta's offense can keep the defense, um, can score more points and help the defense out there. But I still feel that the battle to me comes between Atlanta and Tampa Bay. I feel Tampa will probably win the division. Atlanta could easily win like 9 games, I think. But let's see. Then we pivot to New Orleans Saints, and they're still coming off. It's been years since they parted ways, or not parted ways, so retirement of Drew Brees. But the start of the Derek Carr era, who moved from uh, the Las Vegas Raiders, was pretty much lackluster last year. He did play well towards the end of the season, so let's see if they can stabilize their offense. I mean, they're still a very good defensive team. They did finish 4-1 the last 5 games, and even his touchdown to interception ratio went up. I mean, they still won nine games last year, but I think um, they 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 still have a good defense, but offensively, let's see if they can continue that um, run they had towards the end of last season. Defensively, they do have Dennis Allen unit. They still perform at top 10. They're still number 4 in NFL in third down conversion rate. Um, and but the thing is, like they had like 34 sacks, tied for the fourth fewest in the NFL. So it is, again, they have um, Cameron Jordan, who's always been a staple in New Orleans Saints, and he only had like 2 sacks last season. So I don't think they can totally rely on him. But they did sign Chase Young, the second overall pick for the 2020 draft, and but they did draft some defensive tackles from Iowa, and they signed like an inside linebacker to a deal too. So again, this is going to be interesting if Carr can, like I said, somehow channel his season-ending late season play from 2024, and his pass rush can be um, more effective. I think they can challenge for the title, but I don't know if they can jump over both Tampa and Atlanta at this point. But it remains to be seen. And then we finally come to the Panthers. They did draft Bryce Young. He was the first overall draft pick. The Panthers did. Um, he had probably one of the most horrendous rookie seasons with the Panthers. If you look at it, his 5.5 yards per attempt were probably dead last in the entire league last season. So I think that doesn't bode well for them. Again, it's like their offense again. The offensive line was a mess. Just like every time I talk about these things, the offensive line is probably one of the biggest thing I talk about. And when the offensive allows a big uh, pressure rate, the fourth highest in the NFL last season, that means that he takes a lot of sacks. And he took a record 62 sacks last year. And the pass catching, well, when the offensive line is completely dismantled and he's running for his life, I don't care what kind of skill receiver positions you have, you're still going to have a challenge with um, catching any balls because the ball's not even coming to them. So that's where they are, and they definitely signed one of the Seattle Seahawks starting guard last season. They signed another guard from Miami. So I'm hoping that these two signings would help um, uh, Carolina establish a little bit of a better offensive protection to their quarterback. I mean, he was the number one pick. So hopefully he will definitely have a much better season than last year. And then on the defensive side of things, again, they did trade away their cornerbacks, but they did. But let's see if they can. And they did get Dave Caneles from Tampa Bay, who's actually very instrumental in getting Baker, almost rejuvenating Baker's career at Tampa. So I feel that having him mentor Bryce Young could hopefully uh, take a bigger step in 2024. Not sure if they can win the division there, but I feel that they will have a much better season than um, last year. So that's where I see them in terms of where they finish. So to me, I think it's going to be Tampa, Atlanta, New Orleans, and Carolina in that order that they will finish. So with that, we finish the NFC South. I know we did the West and South. Now we will pivot to the NFC North, and then we'll finish off the NFC with the East finally, and then similarly we'll go to the AFC as well, each and every division. Thank you again for listening, and have a good night.
Thank you for listening. Primo will be back soon.